What if the simple act of living meant constant, quiet surveillance, where every moment could be your last in freedom, and even companionship carried the chilling risk of betrayal? We softly unveil this hidden dread in Nazi Berlin. Imagine yourself, if you will, not in the comfort of your present moment, but transported back, far back, to the year 1936. The setting is the vast, often imposing city of Berlin, the capital of Nazi Germany. And you are, for the purpose of our quiet contemplation, a homosexual living under the ever-present, chilling shadow of the Nazi regime, constantly hiding from Nazi police. Your life is defined by secrecy, pervasive fear, and the profound weight of persecution. The first sensation that might envelop you is a pervasive internal dread. The air, even in bustling public spaces, would carry a subtle tension, a quiet alertness. The dominant sounds would be carefully monitored. The regular, impersonal march of uniformed boots on cobblestones, the distant, muffled sound of official pronouncements from loudspeakers, and the unsettling quiet of moments where you know you must not be heard. Your heart, in particular, knows the unceasing strain of anxiety. As you navigate the city, perhaps seeking connection, your heart races in secret meeting spots. These would be hidden corners of parks, quiet back rooms of dimly lit bars, or inconspicuous private apartments. Places where a fleeting sense of normalcy and belonging could be found, yet always tinged with acute danger. Every soft cough, every unexpected shadow, every sudden voice could signal exposure, sending a quiet jolt of terror through your body. The whispers of intimate conversation would be kept low, always aware of unseen ears. Meals, while a basic necessity, are often dictated by scarcity and fear. Your sustenance might consist of scavenged bread, perhaps stale, acquired discreetly to avoid drawing attention. You eat quickly, often alone, or with a very small, trusted circle, your attention divided between the food and the surrounding environment, always alert to potential threats. The taste would be plain, nourishing only enough to keep you functioning, a quiet reminder of your precarious existence. As the day ends, you would return to your sleeping arrangements. Your nights are spent in a rented room, often a single, sparsely furnished space, perhaps in a tenement building. There is little comfort, and the act of sleep itself can be difficult. As you are fearing arrest under paragraph 175, this notorious section of the German Criminal Code, which criminalizes sexual acts between men, looms as a constant silent threat. Every unexpected knock on a door, every distant siren, could be the sound of your world collapsing. Your dreams, if they come, might be disturbed by a quiet, pervasive unease. But beneath the routines of survival and the constant alertness, there are deeper, more chilling anxieties. You are acutely aware of the sensory dread of Gestapo raids. These brutal police actions, often swift and unannounced, targeted suspected homosexuals. Imagine the sudden, harsh sound of heavy boots on stairs, the splintering of a door, the cold glare of a flashlight in the dark. While we do not dwell on the specifics of violence, the threat of such an event is a constant, quiet burden, a knowledge that physical and psychological suffering could be moments away, and then there are the insidious whispers of informants. Neighbors, acquaintances, or even former friends, motivated by fear, ideology, or personal gain, could betray you to the authorities. The innocent comment, the casual glance, the subtle shift in a relationship, these are the quiet, unsettling indicators that trust is a luxury you cannot afford. Every quiet conversation, every shared secret, is weighed against the terrifying possibility of betrayal and its devastating consequences. To exist in such a state, to navigate daily life under constant scrutiny and the pervasive shadow of persecution, required an immense internal fortitude. It demanded unwavering caution, a mastery of hidden signals, and a deep, almost instinctual drive for quiet survival. The rhythm of your life would be a constant, subtle negotiation of identity, danger, and the profound desire to simply continue to exist. From the intimate, often solitary, world of a homosexual individual hiding in Nazi Berlin, let us now lift our gaze to the pervasive, systemic instrument of their persecution, paragraph 175. This notorious section of the German criminal code, in existence long before the Nazis, became a terrifying tool under their regime, leading to widespread arrests, imprisonment in brutal camps, and the systematic crushing of countless lives. This narrative of systemic cruelty, though deeply unsettling, is delivered with a soothing, reflective tone, allowing you to contemplate the chilling efficiency of totalitarian oppression. Paragraph 175 had been part of German law since 1871, criminalizing unnatural indecency between men. However, its enforcement varied over time. When the Nazi Party came to power in 1933, they dramatically intensified its application. For the Nazis, homosexuality was seen as a threat to the purity of the Aryan race, a perversion that undermined the state's ideal of procreation and military strength. This ideological fervor transformed an existing law into a brutal weapon of state control. The period from 1933 to 1945 saw a chilling escalation of persecution. The initial vague wording of paragraph 175 was even broadened in 1935 to encompass any lewd act between men, making it easier to secure convictions based on suspicion or mere touching, rather than requiring proof of a completed sexual act. This legal change cast a wider net of terror over the lives of homosexual men, making even subtle gestures of affection or connection profoundly dangerous. The primary consequence of this intensified enforcement was a dramatic increase in arrests. Imagine the stark, impersonal sound of a police whistle, the sudden command in a cold voice, the metallic click of handcuffs. Men from all walks of life, factory workers, artists, teachers, even former members of Nazi organizations, were targeted. The legal process, once a semblance of justice, became a swift, brutal mechanism for identifying and removing those deemed undesirable. Legal rights were diminished, and convictions often relied on coerced confessions or dubious evidence. Once arrested, the fate of these individuals was grim. Thousands were sentenced to imprisonment in regular prisons. However, a significant number, especially after serving prison sentences or for repeat offenses, were then transferred to concentration camps. Imagine the chilling silence of transport, the sudden, vast scale of barbed wire fences, the impersonal numbering of individuals rather than names. These camps, unlike prisons, were places of extreme suffering, designed to break the human spirit through forced labor, starvation, and constant terror. Within the camps, homosexual prisoners were often identified by a pink triangle, a forced symbol of their crime, which marked them for particular brutality. They were frequently subjected to harsher treatment than other prisoner groups by guards and even by other inmates, reflecting the pervasive societal prejudice that the Nazi regime had amplified. The daily struggle for survival in these desolate environments was immense, a constant battle against hunger, cold, exhaustion, and the ever-present threat of violence or death. Their suffering, often less recognized in the broader historical narrative, was a stark and quiet testament to the depths of Nazi cruelty. Even for survivors, the struggles continue long after the war's end in 1945. Paragraph 175 remained on the books in West Germany until 1969, and convictions under the Nazi-era version were not officially overturned until 1994. This meant that many men who had endured years in concentration camps continued to live as convicted criminals, facing social stigma, ongoing legal hurdles, and the deep, silent trauma of their experiences. Their quiet efforts to rebuild lives, often in secrecy, highlight the long shadow cast by systemic persecution. The story of paragraph 175 and its enforcement under the Nazis is a chilling demonstration of how law can be perverted into a tool of oppression, systematically dismantling lives and extinguishing human dignity. The quiet footsteps of the persecutors, the subtle clicks of the legal machinery, and the overwhelming silence of those who suffered. These are the gentle echoes of a truly dark chapter in history, resonating softly, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation. From the chilling, systemic reach of paragraph 175 and the public mechanisms of persecution, let us now gently delve into a more intimate, profoundly moving, and often heartbreaking aspect of life for homosexual individuals in Nazi Germany, the quiet mystery of hidden love letters. These fragile fragments of paper, sometimes carefully concealed and later rediscovered within the vast Berlin archives, offer a rare direct glimpse into the enduring power of human connection, even under the most extreme pressure. They invite us to ponder the quiet courage and the deep emotional resilience of those forced to live in the shadows. Imagine the atmosphere within the cool, quiet halls of a historical archive in Berlin. The air might carry the dry, academic scent of aged paper and old books, mingled with the subtle, cool scent of dust. The sounds would be hushed, the soft rustle of a researcher's sleeves, the gentle turning of pages, and the almost imperceptible dry whisper of old paper as a box of documents is carefully opened. It is in such environments that these precious personal fragments, once hidden away, have quietly waited to tell their stories. These love letters were not grand declarations meant for public consumption. They were private whispers, intimate confessions, and desperate assurances exchanged between individuals whose affection was deemed a crime. Think of the intense care with which they must have been written, each word chosen not only for its meaning, but also for its safety. The very act of committing such forbidden feelings to paper was an act of profound courage, a quiet defiance in a world that sought to erase their very existence. The mystery, or perhaps the quiet poignancy, of these hidden letters lies not just in their emotional content, but in the profound questions they raise about their purpose and their ultimate fate. Were they coded messages, filled with double meanings and subtle hints that only the intended recipient would understand? A quiet language designed to bypass the prying eyes of censors or informants? The meticulous handwriting, the seemingly innocuous phrases, could be cloaking a deeper, more dangerous truth. Or were they final farewells, penned in moments of profound despair, perhaps before an imminent arrest, a forced separation, or a desperate act? Imagine the heavy silence in a small room as a person writes, knowing this might be the very last tangible connection to the one they love, each word imbued with the weight of impending loss. These letters, then, become quiet testaments to lives abruptly cut short or irrevocably altered by persecution, echoing a silent grief across the years. These fragments of personal correspondence provide invaluable insights into the cultural practices of survival within a persecuted community. They reveal the ingenuity required to maintain relationships in a hostile environment, the discreet meeting places, the trusted intermediaries, the careful choice of words, the art of living a double life. They show the emotional and psychological toll of constant fear, yet also the remarkable human capacity for love, hope, and connection, even when confronted by overwhelming brutality. The letters often speak of longing, loneliness, and the quiet dreams of a future that might never arrive. The fact that these archival finds, these humble, intimate letters, have been preserved, often through incredible foresight or sheer chance, allows us to directly engage with the deeply personal experiences of those who suffered under Nazi rule. They are not merely ancient texts. They are tangible whispers from a bygone era, inviting calm and compassionate contemplation. They prompt us to consider how love persevered amidst terror, how individuals found ways to express their authentic selves in the face of systematic repression, and how even the smallest act of defiance, like writing a hidden letter, could hold immense meaning. The subtle rustling sound of these ancient fragments, when held in the mind's eye, whispers tales of profound human resilience and the enduring power of the heart. From the intimate, often desperate, world revealed in hidden love letters, let us now transition to a chillingly different realm, the meticulously ordered, austere environment of an SS officer's headquarters in Nazi Berlin. This segment offers a profound and unsettling contrast to the individual's suffering, providing a quiet glimpse into the stark luxury, unwavering ideology, and cold efficiency that define the Nazi elite and their culture of enforcement. Imagine stepping through a heavy, perhaps imposing, doorway into an SS headquarters building in the heart of 1930s Berlin. The atmosphere here would be one of disciplined order and quiet authority. The air might carry the crisp, clean scent of polished wood, mingled with the fainter, lingering aroma of stale tobacco smoke and the dry, metallic tang of official papers. The dominant sounds would be hushed and precise, the rhythmic clicking of typewriters in a distant office, the soft creak of highly polished leather shoes on clean floors, and the low, measured tones of voices engaged in serious conversation. The interior spaces would be characterized by a peculiar form of austere luxury. Furnishings would be solid, functional, yet clearly of high quality. You might see heavy, polished desks made of dark wood, meticulously organized with official documents. Walls might be adorned with stern portraits or perhaps banners bearing the stark symbolism of the regime, such as the iron eagles of the Nazi Party. There would be no frivolous decoration, but rather an emphasis on order, cleanliness, and the quiet display of institutional power. The lighting, often stark and functional, would emphasize straight lines and rigid arrangements. The daily rhythm of an SS officer was one of relentless work, bureaucratic precision, and unwavering ideological commitment. Unlike the life of constant hiding and emotional strain, their days were spent within a structure that provided immense authority and a clear sense of purpose, however twisted. Their duties involved administration, surveillance, and, crucially, the systematic persecution planning that shaped the lives of countless individuals. Gatherings in an SS officer's headquarters were often formal, yet could also involve moments of controlled camaraderie. Imagine officers in their crisp uniforms, seated around a large table, perhaps discussing reports or strategies. Meals, when held, might be straightforward yet plentiful. The aroma of hearty German fare, perhaps sausage and sauerkraut, would mingle with the distinct scent of beer served in sturdy steins. The sounds of such a gathering would be measured, the clink of glasses, the quiet scraping of cutlery, and the low, firm voices of men discussing policy, strategy, and the implementation of state directives. A particularly chilling aspect of these gatherings was the persecution planning. In these quiet, orderly rooms, decisions were made that would profoundly impact the lives of those deemed undesirable, including homosexuals. Imagine the cool, detached tone of voices discussing quotas for arrests, the logistics of transport, or the refinement of legal interpretations to broaden the scope of paragraph 175. These were not emotional outbursts, but cold, systematic discussions about how to implement ideological goals, translating abstract hatred into concrete, devastating actions. The only sounds would be the soft rustle of documents, the quiet turning of pages in a rulebook, and the methodical click of a pen as a decision was recorded. The officer's role in enforcement was central to the regime's control. They were the architects and implementers of the state's will, tasked with ensuring the rigid adherence to Nazi ideology and laws. This meant overseeing arrests, interrogations, and the operation of the repressive apparatus that reached into every corner of society. Their influence was wielded through the power of their uniforms, the cold authority of their commands, and the pervasive fear they instilled. This segment allows us to reflect on the chilling nature of power when divorced from empathy and the unique brand of luxury that comes with absolute control and unshakable ideological conviction. It stands in stark, unsettling contrast to the quiet suffering and desperate resilience we have previously explored. One group wielded immense, unchallenged authority, living lives of grim comfort and cold purpose. The other endured relentless oppression, struggling for mere existence. Both existed within the dark reality of Nazi Germany, but their experiences were profoundly different, highlighting the vast chasm between persecutor and persecuted. From the chilling, methodical environment of the SS officers' headquarters, let us now gently broaden our perspective to encompass the pervasive atmosphere that permeated the very fabric of daily life in Nazi Berlin, the omnipresent force of propaganda and the quiet, often hidden acts of resistance. This segment invites you to contemplate how an entire society was shaped by carefully controlled messages, and how individuals, through subtle means, sought to maintain a sense of self amidst immense pressure for conformity. Imagine walking through the streets of Berlin in the mid-1930s. The city's visual landscape would be dominated by the state's message. Everywhere you looked, there would be posters, large, brightly colored, with bold typography and stylized images of heroic soldiers, idyllic Aryan families, or caricatures of enemies of the state. These were not mere advertisements. They were constant, silent exhortations to believe, to conform, to participate. The very air seemed to hum with the unspoken demand of allegiance. Beyond the visual, the auditory landscape was also carefully orchestrated. The distinct, authoritative voice of a radio announcer would emanate from homes and public spaces, delivering news, political speeches, and carefully selected music, all designed to reinforce the regime's ideology. Imagine the sound of a radio broadcast, its steady, measured tone filling the room, delivering a message of national unity and a particular version of truth. Even public squares might have loudspeakers, ensuring that no one could entirely escape the official narrative. This constant bombardment of messages created immense pressure for conformity. People were expected to outwardly display their loyalty, to greet others with Heil Hitler, to join party organizations, to participate in parades and rallies. The subtle sounds of marching boots, the rhythmic chanting of slogans, the collective roar of a crowd, these were the auditory symbols of a society moving in a single orchestrated direction. For those who felt inwardly different, this external demand for uniformity created a profound, quiet psychological burden, a constant need to mask their true thoughts and feelings. Yet, even within this tightly controlled environment, there were quiet acts of non-compliance and hidden cultural pockets. These were not often acts of overt rebellion, which would have meant immediate and brutal consequences. Instead, they were subtle, internal forms of resistance, sometimes detectable only to those who knew where to look or listen. Perhaps it was the quiet refusal to listen to the evening radio broadcasts, preferring the muffled sounds of a shared family meal, or the subtle act of keeping a forbidden book hidden away, its pages whispering a different truth in the silence of the night. In some private homes, forbidden's music might have been played softly, its melodies offering a momentary escape from the ideological din. These were not grand gestures, but small, personal affirmations of individual thought in the face of overwhelming pressure. Even conversations would be carefully modulated. The whispers of dissent, if they occurred, would be barely audible, exchanged only among the most trusted confidants, perhaps amidst the background noise of a busy street or a quiet cafe. The absence of certain phrases, the knowing glance, the subtle shift in topic, these were the silent signals of a shared understanding that not all was as it seemed on the surface. This segment allows us to reflect on the immense psychological weight of living under a totalitarian regime, where even thoughts and feelings were implicitly policed. It highlights the subtle ways in which a society can be reshaped by omnipresent messaging, and yet also reveals the enduring human capacity for quiet adaptation, internal resilience, and the preservation of personal truth, even in the face of profound oppression. The muffled sounds of propaganda and the quiet, almost imperceptible acts of hidden defiance drift softly from this historical era, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation. From the broad, pervasive force of Nazi propaganda and the subtle acts of hidden resistance, let us now gently turn our gaze to a specific, vibrant part of Berlin's past that was brutally silenced, and the quiet, often belated, efforts to reclaim its memory. We explore the echoes of a lost scene, the thriving queer subculture of Weimar Berlin, its swift eradication under the Nazis, and the slow, poignant process of remembrance that followed. This segment invites you to contemplate the profound impact of erasure and the enduring power of historical memory. Before the dark shadow of Nazism fell, Weimar Berlin in the 1920s and early 1930s was remarkably a haven for LGBTQ plus individuals. It was a city known for its progressive attitudes, a place where a vibrant and relatively open gay and lesbian subculture flourished. Imagine the atmosphere in these places, the quiet murmur of conversations in dimly lit bars and cafes, the soft, melancholic notes of a jazz tune from a hidden gramophone, the subtle clink of glasses. These were spaces where individuals could find acceptance, a sense of community, and a momentary respite from societal judgment. The air might have carried the scent of cheap tobacco, coffee, and a quiet sense of burgeoning freedom. However, with the Nazi rise to power in 1933, this scene was brutally suppressed. The vibrant clubs and meeting places were swiftly closed down, often violently. Owners and patrons were arrested, their lives shattered. Imagine the sudden, jarring sound of smashing glass, the shouts of raiding police, and the chilling silence that followed as these once lively spaces became empty, forgotten shells. The diverse publications that catered to the community were immediately banned and burned, their words turned to ash. This was not a gradual decline, but a swift and deliberate erasure, pushing a visible community back into the deepest shadows of fear and secrecy. For decades after the war, the memory of this specific persecution remained largely unspoken, even among Allied victors. The legal framework of paragraph 175 persisted in West Germany, contributing to a continued silence and reluctance to acknowledge the suffering of homosexual victims. Archival records from the Nazi era, though meticulous, often remained unexamined for these specific stories or were deliberately left in obscurity. The grim truths of their suffering were held in a quiet, collective amnesia. Yet, slowly, carefully, the process of remembrance began. In the late 20th century, dedicated historians, activists, and archivists began to meticulously uncover these suppressed narratives. They delved into the very archives where the hidden love letters lay waiting, piecing together fragments of lives, testimonies, and the systematic brutality they endured. The quiet rustle of their research papers, the soft clicks of microfiche readers, and the low murmurs of their discoveries began to break the long silence. This process involved the creation of new memorials, quiet spaces of reflection designed to acknowledge the forgotten victims. Imagine the solemn presence of a simple plaque on a building, or the quiet contemplation at a memorial sculpture in a park, where the sounds of the city briefly give way to a moment of hushed remembrance. These places, once sites of vibrant life and then brutal suppression, are now spaces where the quiet dignity of memory can reside. The cultural practices of remembrance that have emerged in Berlin since have been deliberate and poignant. Public art installations, historical exhibitions, and educational initiatives all contribute to this quiet but persistent effort to ensure that these lives and the injustices they faced are not forgotten. The quiet footsteps of visitors to these memorials, the soft murmur of their reflections, serve as a testament to the enduring human need to acknowledge truth, even when it is difficult. This segment allows us to reflect on the profound loss of a vibrant community and the systematic attempt to erase its very existence. It also highlights the quiet, unwavering power of historical recovery and the slow, determined process of remembrance. The faint echoes of suppressed music, the quiet sounds of historical inquiry, and the enduring presence of memorials, these are the calming whispers from a complex past, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation and a quiet understanding of the long arc of justice and memory. Welcome, weary traveler, to a quiet journey across the golden sands of time. Tonight, we drift softly back to a land of unparalleled grandeur, intellectual brilliance, and intricate human lives, the world of Abbasid Baghdad, during its magnificent zenith. Allow the gentle current of these long-forgotten stories to carry you, to calm your thoughts, and perhaps to guide you towards a tranquil stillness. We will explore aspects of their existence, some opulent and public, others deeply private and rarely spoken of, all delivered with the measured cadence of history unfolding. We invite you to simply listen, to imagine, and to let these quiet tales of a distant age guide you towards a serene repose. Imagine yourself, if you will, not in the comfort of your present moment, but transported back, far back, to the 9th century CE. The setting is the magnificent, thriving heart of the Islamic world, Baghdad, the capital of the Abbasid Caliphate. And you are, for the purpose of our quiet contemplation, an enslaved concubine serving within the caliph's vast and intricate harem. Your life is defined by the rigid structures of the palace, the whispers of courtly life, and the constant demands of your royal master. The first sensation that might envelop you is the overwhelming presence of rich, complex aromas. The air in these expansive halls is often perfumed, carrying the delicate scent of oud, musk, and rosewater, mingling with the sweeter notes of burning incense. The dominant sounds would be hushed and muffled, the soft padding of bare feet or fine slippers on cool, tiled floors, the gentle rustle of expensive fabrics, and the very distant, almost imperceptible murmurs of conversations from other parts of the sprawling palace. Your hands, in particular, know the unceasing demands of intricate labor. Day after day, often in the company of other women, you might find your hands tired from sewing silk, perhaps embroidering elaborate patterns onto garments for the caliph or his favorite consorts. Or perhaps your duty involves meticulously preparing cosmetics or tending to the intricate hair of a royal child. This precise, repetitive work, though not physically brutal in the way of outdoor labor, demands unwavering attention and can lead to a quiet, pervasive ache in your fingers and wrists. Meals, while potentially more varied than those of a common laborer, are still regimented and served within the harem's confines. You receive portions of dates, sweet and nourishing, providing quick energy. Along with this, you might have warm, fresh flatbread, perhaps dipped in olive oil or accompanied by a simple stew of vegetables and lentils. While sufficient, these meals are consumed in a communal setting, reinforcing your status as one among many, a life without individual choice or private indulgence. As the day ends, you would return to your sleeping arrangements. Unlike the private chambers of the caliph's wives, you would sleep in a crowded chamber, sharing space with other concubines or female servants. The sounds of the night would be intimate yet public. The soft breathing of others around you, the subtle shifting on shared sleeping mats, and the distant, unseen movements of guards outside the chamber doors. There's little true privacy, a constant reminder of your communal existence. But beneath the routines of domestic labor and the quiet grandeur, there are deeper, persistent anxieties. You are acutely aware of the whispers of court politics. Though cloistered, the harem is not isolated from the intricate power plays of the palace. Favors can be won or lost, rivalries can simmer, and the slightest misstep in etiquette or perceived disloyalty could have profound consequences. They overheard fragment of a conversation, a subtle change in an overseer's demeanor, a shift in the caliph's attention. These are the quiet indicators of shifting fortunes, fostering a constant low level of apprehension. And then there is the ever-present, unsettling fear of punishment. While direct physical brutality might not be a daily occurrence, the caliph's authority is absolute. Disobedience, a lapse in conduct, or falling out of favor could lead to severe, quiet repercussions. This might mean being confined, stripped of comforts, or, in extreme cases, being sold away from the harem to an unknown fate. The fear is a cold knot in the stomach, the quiet understanding that your comfort, your status, and your very place within this opulent world are entirely dependent on the caliph's whim and can be swiftly and quietly removed. To exist in such a state, to perform your duties under constant scrutiny and the shadow of potential disfavor, required a profound internal fortitude. It demanded a silent obedience, a careful attention to every detail, and a deep, almost instinctual drive for quiet survival within the gilded cage of the harem. The rhythm of your life would be a constant, subtle negotiation of power, beauty, and quiet vulnerability. From the intimate, often apprehensive, world of the Abbasid harem, let us now lift our gaze to the very pinnacle of this magnificent empire, the opulent court of Harun al-Rashid. His reign, from 786 to 809 CE, marked a golden age for the Abbasid Caliphate, a period of unparalleled cultural flourishing, intellectual advancement, and legendary wealth, all underpinned by a complex social structure that included a vast network of enslaved individuals, including the concubines who contributed to the court's prestige. This narrative of power and splendor, delivered with a soothing, reflective tone, allows us to contemplate the nature of ancient Islamic authority and its intricate dependencies. Harun al-Rashid was not merely a caliph. He was the fifth and arguably most famous ruler of the Abbasid dynasty, a figure whose name became synonymous with the grandeur of Baghdad, immortalized in tales like 1001 Nights. He presided over an Islamic empire that stretched from North Africa to India, a melting pot of cultures, ideas, and unparalleled resources. His court was the nerve center of this vast domain, a place where Islamic scholars, poets, musicians, and diplomats converged, drawn by the caliph's immense patronage. Imagine the sheer scale of the opulent court. The palace complex in Baghdad would have been sprawling, a city within a city, filled with intricate courtyards, lush gardens, and richly decorated halls. The air would be heavy with exotic perfumes and the subtle scent of fine woodwork and polished stone. The sounds would be a symphony of quiet luxury, the soft tinkle of distant water features, the gentle strumming of lutes, the hushed conversations in multiple languages, and the occasional crisp command from a high-ranking Islamic official. At the heart of this splendor, and crucial to its functioning and prestige, was the harem. While the segment description refers to enslaved concubines, it's important to understand the complex social nuances. Women within the harem could range from primary wives of noble birth to various categories of enslaved women, some of whom were highly educated in arts, music, and poetry. They were acquired through various means as diplomatic gifts, as captives from wars, or through slave markets. Their presence, often numbering in the hundreds or even thousands in imperial harems, symbolized the Islamic caliph's immense power, wealth, and international reach. The treatment of harem women varied greatly depending on their status, individual favor, and abilities. While undoubtedly living under strict rules and without personal freedom in the modern sense, many, especially those who bore children to the caliph or excelled in certain arts, could achieve significant influence and comfortable lives. They served not just for personal pleasure, but as a vital part of the court's cultural and social fabric, providing entertainment, companionship, and a powerful symbol of the caliph's grandeur. Their days might be filled with learning, conversation, music, and the meticulous care of their appearance, all under the watchful, yet often subtle, eyes of eunuchs and female supervisors. Harun al-Rashid's reign is particularly remembered for his profound patronage of the arts and sciences. He encouraged intellectual inquiry, sponsoring translations of Greek, Roman, and Persian texts into Arabic at institutions like the House of Wisdom. Scholars and artists from across the empire and beyond were drawn to Baghdad, fostered by the caliph's generosity. Imagine the quiet, diligent work of scribes copying ancient manuscripts, the murmuring discussions of astronomers mapping the stars, or the delicate brushstrokes of calligraphers creating exquisite texts, all supported by the caliph's legendary wealth. This legendary wealth allowed for an extravagance that permeated every aspect of the court. Gifts of gold, silk, and precious jewels were exchanged with foreign dignitaries. Elaborate festivals and banquets were common, showcasing the caliph's prosperity. The sheer volume of resources flowing into Baghdad, from trade routes stretching across continents, fueled this unmatched opulence. The story of Harun al-Rashid's court is a captivating tapestry of immense power, intellectual curiosity, and lavish display. It was a world where artistry and scholarship flourished under royal decree, yet a world also built upon a complex hierarchy of servitude and strict social order. The subtle sounds of distant music, the rustle of fine silk, and the quiet murmurs of intellectual debate, these are the gentle echoes of a golden age, resonating softly through the millennia. From the lavish courts of Caliph Harun al-Rashid, let us now delve into a more intimate and often elusive aspect of Abbasid palace life, the fascinating enigma of Abbasid harem records. These humble yet profoundly informative fragments of written documentation, sometimes found among the vast collections of ancient Baghdad, offer a rare, direct glimpse into the lives, origins, and varied fates of the women within the caliph's private domain. They invite us to ponder the quiet stories hidden within ancient texts and the complex realities of human lives. Imagine the atmosphere within the legendary House of Wisdom in Baghdad, a grand intellectual hub established by the Abbasids. This would not be a silent space, but one filled with the quiet, focused sounds of scholarship, the soft scratching of reed pens on parchment, the gentle turning of pages, and the low murmuring of scholars discussing texts in various languages. The air might carry the dry, papery scent of ancient manuscripts, mingled with the earthy aroma of ink. It is in such environments that some of these precious fragments, detailing aspects of the harem, might have been quietly preserved for centuries. The primary function of these records, often parts of larger administrative ledgers, personal notes, or court documents, was practical. They might record the acquisition of enslaved women, their origins, their skills, or perhaps even details of their daily allowances and training. Think of them as the meticulous bureaucratic paperwork of an incredibly large and complex royal household. The very act of a scribe's precise script documenting the minutiae of these lives creates a quiet, indelible record, even if incomplete. The mystery, or perhaps the quiet fascination, of these harem records lies not just in their routine content, but in the profound questions they raise about the lives they describe. These documents often provide tantalizing hints about the origins of the women. Were they diplomatic gifts from distant lands, sent to solidify alliances and demonstrate political deference? Such women would arrive with a retinue and perhaps even a degree of prestige, serving as a living testament to the caliph's international standing. Or were they captives taken during military campaigns, brought back to Baghdad as spoils of war, their lives irrevocably altered by conflict? Such origins would imply a vastly different, and often more abrupt, transition into palace life. These records also quietly reveal the diverse roles and destinies within the harem. Some entries might mention women trained in music, singing, or poetry, indicating their value as entertainers and intellectual companions. Others might detail those who became skilled in administration, managing parts of the vast household. And of course, the records would subtly track those who bore children to the caliph, elevating their status and potentially their influence within the palace walls. The very existence of such detailed administrative records, even for those considered property, highlights the complex and highly organized nature of Abbasid society. These textual fragments provide invaluable insights into cultural practices around Abbasid harems and the broader institution of slavery within the caliphate. They demonstrate that the harem was far from a homogeneous entity. It was a complex social structure with its own hierarchies, rules, and possibilities for both advancement and quiet hardship. They show the meticulous attention paid to documenting human assets, even when those assets were individuals with skills, talents, and personal stories. The fact that these manuscripts have been found and preserved, allowing scholars to piece together glimpses of these hidden lives, offers a profound connection to a world often veiled from public view. They are not merely ancient texts. They are tangible whispers from a bygone era, inviting calm contemplation. They prompt us to consider how individual lives were shaped by powerful institutions, how cultural exchange occurred through human movement, and how much even the most private aspects of life were meticulously recorded by the hand of a scribe. The subtle rustling sound of these ancient fragments, when held in the mind's eye, whispers tales of a society that, even in its bureaucratic precision, reveals the underlying presence of countless human journeys. From the quiet intrigue hidden within the Abbasid harem records, let us now gently transition to a realm of unparalleled grandeur and profound influence, the sprawling, breathtaking world of an Abbasid caliph's palace. This offers a striking contrast to the veiled existence within the harem, providing a captivating glimpse into the opulent splendor, intellectual vibrancy, and immense political power that defined the heart of the Islamic Golden Age. Imagine stepping through a grand, perhaps intricately carved, gateway into a tranquil and meticulously designed compound, far removed from the bustling souk of Baghdad. The air here would feel cool and calm, often carrying the delicate, sweet scent of amber or expensive rich spices from the kitchens, mingling with the earthy aroma of freshly watered gardens and the subtle fragrance of exquisite floral arrangements. The soft murmur of hushed conversations, the gentle rustle of rich fabrics, and the distant, soothing notes of a musical instrument would form a constant, low hum, signifying the refined affairs of the caliph's household. The architecture of a caliph's palace would be monumental and awe-inspiring, characterized by vast arched courtyards, intricate geometric patterns, and sparkling tiled palaces that reflected the sunlight with 1,000 hues. Interior spaces were designed for both practical governance and aesthetic pleasure, with open pavilions, shaded porticos, and private chambers. Light, filtered through delicate meshrabia screens or soaring archways, would softly illuminate rooms adorned with calligraphy, mosaics, and precious objects. In the evening, the soft, warm glow from silver lamps and intricately carved lanterns would cast gentle light, creating an atmosphere of serene luxury and quiet contemplation. The daily rhythm of an Abbasid caliph was one of immense responsibility and profound influence. Unlike the constrained life of a harem concubine, the caliph's duties were primarily political, administrative, and religious. They managed a vast empire, oversaw their numerous officials, presided over legal proceedings, and crucially, led the Muslim community as both temporal and spiritual head. Their days were filled with audiences, consultations, religious devotion, and often moments of intellectual engagement. Feasts in a caliph's palace were elaborate social and diplomatic events, reflecting the caliph's immense wealth, power, and generosity. Imagine guests reclining on luxurious cushions, enjoying an astonishing array of dishes. The aroma of succulent roasted lamb, often seasoned with aromatic herbs, would fill the air, alongside fragrant saffron rice, delicate pastries, and a myriad of sweet and savory dishes. Exotic fruits and refreshing juices would be abundant. While alcohol was generally prohibited, rich, non-alcoholic beverages and sweet concoctions would be served in elegant ceramic or metal vessels. The sounds of such a feast would be a harmonious blend of hushed, respectful conversation and refined entertainment. A central feature of court life was the poetry recital and musical performances. Imagine a skilled poet, perhaps a renowned master of words, reciting verses of praise or wisdom, their voice measured and clear, resonating gently through the grand hall. The soft plucking of an oud, the reedy melody of an A flute, or the rhythmic tapping of a hand drum would provide a soothing backdrop to the measured discussions and polite laughter. These artistic performances were not just entertainment. They were a vital display of cultural sophistication and intellectual prowess, reflecting the caliph's patronage and the refinement of his court. The caliph's role in governance was central to the very functioning of the empire. As the supreme temporal and spiritual leader, he appointed governors, judged legal disputes, issued decrees, and led prayers. While much of the day-to-day administration was handled by viziers and bureaucrats, the ultimate authority and responsibility rested with the caliph. Imagine the quiet intensity of high-level discussions within the audience chambers, the rustle of official documents, and the occasional firm pronouncement that would ripple outwards, shaping the lives of millions across the vast empire. This segment allows us to reflect on the immense comfort, the ceremonial splendor, the deep intellectual engagement, and the profound political influence that defined the lives of the Abbasid caliphs. It stands in striking, yet serene, contrast to the constrained, often vulnerable, existence within the harem. One individual commanded vast resources and participated in decisions that shaped an empire. The other served quietly in the background, a small, yet vital, part of the same grand system. Both existed within the opulent structure of the Abbasid Caliphate, but their experiences were profoundly different, highlighting the vast disparities and the intricate layers of this fascinating historical period. From the glittering opulence and intricate politics of the caliph's palace, let us now gently shift our gaze to another, equally magnificent pillar of Abbasid Baghdad, the House of Wisdom. This legendary institution was not merely a library. It was a vibrant center of translation, research, and intellectual exchange, a testament to the caliphate's profound thirst for knowledge and its role in sparking a global intellectual renaissance. This segment invites you to contemplate the quiet dedication and boundless curiosity that flourished within its walls. Imagine stepping through the grand entrance of the House of Wisdom, perhaps in the 9th century, during its most active period under Caliph Oman. The atmosphere within would be one of profound reverence for learning, yet bustling with quiet, purposeful activity. The air might carry the dry, academic scent of old parchment and fresh ink, mingled with the subtle aroma of oil lamps illuminating late-night study sessions. The dominant sounds would be hushed and measured, the soft scratching of reed pens on paper as scribes meticulously copied texts, the gentle turning of heavy bound volumes, and the low, murmured discussions of scholars debating complex ideas in various languages. At its core, the House of Wisdom was a massive translation movement. Scholars, often Christian, Jewish, and Muslim, worked side by side, translating ancient Greek, Roman, Persian, and Indian texts into Arabic. Imagine the diligent work of these translators poring over ancient manuscripts, carefully rendering the wisdom of Aristotle, Plato, Galen, Euclid, and Ptolemy into the lingua franca of the Islamic world. This monumental effort preserved countless classical works that might otherwise have been lost to history, forming the foundation for new discoveries. The House of Wisdom was a hub for diverse fields of study, attracting the brightest minds from across the empire and beyond. In medicine, physicians meticulously studied ancient texts, conducted observations, and performed surgical procedures, expanding medical knowledge. You might imagine the quiet focus of a scholar examining anatomical diagrams or preparing herbal remedies. In astronomy, scholars meticulously observed the stars and planets, built sophisticated instruments, and refined ancient models of the cosmos. The subtle sounds of measuring instruments, the rustle of star charts, would fill their quiet observatories. In mathematics, figures like Al-Khwarizmi, whose work gave us algorithm and algebra, developed new concepts and systems, building upon Indian numerals and Greek geometry. Imagine the quiet intensity of calculations being performed, the delicate drawing of geometric shapes. Beyond these, there were advancements in optics, chemistry, geography, and philosophy, all fostered in an environment of open inquiry and intellectual collaboration. Think of the quiet dedication of these scholars. Their days would be spent in deep study, in meticulous research, and in the careful crafting of new works. They lived a life dedicated to intellectual pursuit, often fueled by an insatiable curiosity and a profound belief in the power of knowledge. The rhythmic tapping of a scholar's fingers on a desk as they pondered a problem, the soft intake of breath as they grasped a new concept, these were the quiet sounds of groundbreaking intellectual work. This environment of learning stood in a quiet yet profound contrast to the more constrained aspects of life within the caliph's palace, particularly for those within the harem. While some harem women were educated and highly skilled, the House of Wisdom represented a different kind of freedom, the freedom of intellectual exploration, accessible to those who devoted their lives to its pursuit. The enduring legacy of the House of Wisdom extends far beyond its physical walls. It ignited a golden age of Islamic scholarship, which in turn greatly influenced the intellectual awakening of medieval Europe. The fact that its intellectual output still resonates in our modern scientific and mathematical understanding is a testament to the quiet, yet revolutionary, work that occurred within its walls. The subtle rustling of ancient texts and the soft murmurs of scholarly pursuit drift quietly from this historical pinnacle, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation. From the quiet halls of scholarship in the House of Wisdom, let us now gently step out into the vibrant, bustling heart of Abbasid Baghdad itself. We will immerse ourselves in the sensory tapestry of its legendary souk and lively streets, exploring the daily lives of its ordinary citizens, the ceaseless energy of its merchants, and the intricate pulse of its magnificent city life. This segment invites you to contemplate the sheer scale and diversity of an ancient metropolis, a world vastly different from the cloistered palace, yet equally defining of the Abbasid era. Imagine walking through the labyrinthine alleyways of Baghdad's marketplace, a sprawling network of covered passages, each dedicated to a particular trade. The air would be thick with a complex symphony of scents, the pungent aroma of exotic spices from distant lands, the sweet fragrance of dates and dried fruits, the earthy smell of leather goods, and the metallic tang of newly crafted copperware. The dominant sounds would be a rich, continuous murmur, the soft haggling of merchants and buyers, the gentle clinking of goods being moved, the rhythmic tapping of a craftsman's hammer, and the quiet footsteps of countless people navigating the narrow ways. The souk were the economic heart of the caliphate, drawing goods from across 3 continents. You might see shimmering bolts of silk from China, fine linens from Egypt, and sturdy wool from Persia, their vibrant colors a feast for the eyes. Piles of glittering jewelry, intricate ceramics, and polished woodwork would catch the light. The voices of the merchants would be calm and persuasive, describing their wares, their expertise honed by generations of trade. These were not loud, aggressive calls, but a steady, compelling invitation to engage, to touch, to inspect. Consider the diverse flow of people in these streets. You would encounter not just local Baghdadists, but travelers from every corner of the empire. Scholars discussing philosophy, artisans carrying their tools, scribes seeking papyrus, and caravaneers resting from long journeys. Their garments would be varied, simple cotton robes for the common laborer, richer silks and fine wools for the more affluent citizen. The sheer variety of languages spoken, the myriad faces and customs would speak volumes about Baghdad's status as a global crossroads. The lives of ordinary citizens in Baghdad were a blend of routine and opportunity. While not enjoying the luxury of the palace or the protection of the caliph's court, they possessed a different kind of freedom, the freedom to engage in commerce, to pursue various crafts, and to live within the bustling energy of the city. Their homes, often modest mud brick dwellings clustered around courtyards, would offer a quiet refuge from the daytime activity, yet still be within earshot of the city's gentle hum. Craftsmen would work in open workshops, their specialized skills evident in the quiet precision of their movements. A potter shaping clay on a slow wheel, a leather worker stitching fine hides, a weaver tending to a large loom. Their focus would be absolute, their movements practiced. The sounds of their work, though repetitive, would be soothing in their consistency. Even amidst the vibrancy, there were quiet challenges. The threat of sudden shifts in market prices, the struggle for daily sustenance, and the potential for petty crime were always present. However, the sheer scale and diversity of Baghdad also offered a unique kind of resilience. The city was a living organism, constantly regenerating, adapting, and creating. This segment allows us to reflect on the immense energy, the rich cultural tapestry, and the quiet resilience of Abbasid Baghdad's everyday life. It stands in distinct yet harmonious contrast to the more secluded worlds of the harem, the intellectual elite, and the caliph's palace. The constant flow of people, the subtle sense of the marketplace, and the gentle murmur of commerce. These are the calming echoes of a truly global city, quietly bustling through the millennia. So now we have witnessed the profound contrast that defined this enduring civilization, its moments of immense wealth and its subtle forms of servitude, its dazzling intellectual curiosity and its intricate social hierarchies, its bustling marketplaces and its secluded private quarters. It is a world both grand and deeply human, a testament to the intricate and often contradictory nature of societies across millennia. What if a single mistake in a perfectly ordered ancient city could lead to public shame, searing pain, and a grim, silent end under the relentless sun? We calmly explore this chilling reality in the Indus Valley. Imagine yourself, if you will, not in the comfort of your present moment, but transported back, far back, to the 3rd millennium BCE. The setting is the vast, organized city of Mohenjo-Daro, one of the greatest urban centers of the mysterious Indus Valley civilization. And you are, for the purpose of our quiet contemplation, a prisoner, now facing the stark public ritual of punishment within one of the city's designated yards. Your existence is defined by discomfort, exposure, and the quiet weight of public judgment. The first sensation that might envelop you is the dry, pervasive heat of the yard. The sun, even in the early morning, would beat down relentlessly on the baked earth ground and the unshaded open space. The air would feel thick with fine, dusty particles stirred by any movement, and perhaps carry the faint, earthy scent of sun-baked mud brick and dry vegetation. The sounds would be hushed and tense, the soft, rhythmic hum of insects in the distance, the muffled shuffling of a gathered urban crowd, and the quiet, dry rasp of rope. Your body, in particular, knows the immediate discomfort of constraint. Your wrists chafe from rope, bound tightly behind your back or to a post. The coarse fibers of the plant-based rope would dig into your skin, creating a constant, low-level irritation. Each subtle shift of your weight would cause a quiet, burning sensation. a constant reminder of your lack of freedom and your vulnerable position. Meals, if provided, would be meager and unappetizing. Your sustenance would consist of spoiled millet, perhaps a small, dry portion of grain that has turned rancid in the heat. The taste would be bitter, unpleasant, barely providing nourishment, serving as a quiet testament to your diminished status. The act of swallowing would be a chore, a grim reminder of hunger rather than satisfaction. As the day progresses. Or as the sentence demands, you would endure public whipping. While we will not dwell on the precise details of physical pain, imagine the quiet, chilling precision of the lash. The sound would be a sharp, dry whistle through the air, followed by a dull, impactful thud against skin and bone. Each stroke would be delivered methodically, designed to inflict shame and a quiet, searing ache, not to extinguish life. The sensation would be one of controlled, rhythmic impact, a quiet testament to the authority imposing the sentence. The presence of the urban crowds adds another layer to this experience. They would gather at a respectful, quiet distance, their faces mostly impassive, watching in silence. There would be no loud jeers or shouts, but rather a profound, unsettling stillness. The shame of being exposed in such a vulnerable state under the quiet scrutiny of your fellow citizens would be immense. You might hear only the soft, communal murmuring of observers, a sound that speaks of collective judgment rather than direct confrontation, reinforcing your isolation. To exist in such a state, to endure public correction in the relentless heat, and under the silent gaze of the city, required a profound internal fortitude. It demanded a stoic endurance, a quiet acceptance of your fate, and a deep, almost instinctual drive for quiet survival. The rhythm of your time in the punishment yard would be a slow, grinding process of discomfort, public scrutiny, and the quiet weight of your imposed consequences. From the stark realities of a Harappan punishment yard, let us now gently shift our focus to a more individual, yet equally poignant story from the vast, enigmatic world of the Indus Valley civilization. We will trace the fictional yet plausible tale of a Harappan trader's fall, inviting you to contemplate the ambitions, risks, and ultimate ruin that could befall even a successful individual in this ancient, organized society. This narrative of ambition and consequences, though engaging, is delivered with a soothing, reflective tone, allowing for a quiet journey into the past. Imagine our trader, let us call him Deva, around 2500 BCE. His life begins not in a punishment yard, but amidst the quiet bustle of a port city like Lafol, or perhaps even Mohenjo-daro itself. Deva is a man of ambition, driven by the desire for prosperity and the quiet thrill of distant lands. His daily life would have involved meticulous preparation for long journeys, checking the integrity of his boats or ox carts, carefully weighing and packing goods, and negotiating with other merchants. The sounds of his early life would be the soft murmur of harbor activity, the creak of wooden planks, and the quiet chattering of diverse languages spoken by fellow travelers. Deva's world was not confined to the Indus Valley. It stretched far beyond. He engaged in the vital trade with Mesopotamia, a long and arduous journey across deserts and seas. Imagine him traveling slowly, patiently. The sounds of his journey would be the rhythmic pad of a camel's hooves on sand, the gentle creak of a wooden ship on calm, sunlit waters, or the low drone of a foreign song from a fellow traveler. He would carry precious goods, carnelian beads, perhaps fine textiles from the Indus, and distinctive Indus seals, small, intricately carved stone tablets used for sealing goods and documents. He would return with copper, lapis lazuli, and other exotic materials, his presence a quiet bridge between distant civilizations. Deva's success, however, inevitably attracted attention, not all of it benevolent. In the highly competitive world of ancient trade, rivals were a constant shadow. Imagine the subtle glances, the quiet calculations, the unspoken tensions in the marketplaces of both Harappa and Mesopotamia. Deva's fortunes begin to turn through an act of betrayal by rivals. This might involve a quiet, false accusation of smuggling forbidden goods, a manipulation of trade routes, or a deliberate sabotage of his cargo, all designed to subtly undermine his standing and wealth. The sounds of this betrayal would be whispers, rumors, and the chilling silence that follows when a trusted contact suddenly withdraws support. The consequences for Deva are swift and severe. Accused of serious offenses against the highly regulated Harappan trade laws, perhaps smuggling or tax evasion on a grand scale, he is brought before the city's authorities. The quiet formality of the proceedings would precede his punishment. His downfall leads him directly to the very place we first contemplated, the punishment yard in MOHENJO-DARO. Here, in that open sun-baked space, Deva faces his ultimate ruin, experiencing the harsh realities of Harappan justice. Imagine the weight of public shame, the silent stares of the crowd, the chilling efficiency of the public spectacle. Though we do not detail physical agony, the intent of the punishment is clear: to break his spirit and body, to serve as a public warning. The rhythmic impact of the lash, the quiet ache, the pervasive heat, these sensations would now define his existence, a stark contrast to the distant clang of Mesopotamian markets or the gentle sway of a trade ship. The tale of Deva. Our Harappan trader is a poignant reminder that even in ancient, highly organized civilizations, ambition could lead to ruin, and the vast systems of trade and law had consequences that could abruptly change an individual's life. His journey from bustling ports to distant lands, and finally to a moment of public reckoning, echoes softly through the millennia, inviting a quiet contemplation of the fragile nature of success and the pervasive presence of ancient law. From the individual tale of a Harappan trader's fall, let us now delve into one of the most enduring and captivating enigmas of the Indus Valley civilization, the remarkable Indus Valley seals. These small, intricately carved objects discovered in their thousands across archaeological sites like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa offer tantalizing glimpses into a highly organized society whose written script uniquely remains unread. We invite you to contemplate the quiet mysteries embedded in these ancient artifacts and the profound questions they pose about a sophisticated yet largely silent civilization. Imagine holding one of these seals in your hand. They are typically small, often square or rectangular, made from steatite, a soft stone, or occasionally terracotta, copper, or faience. The surface is carved with remarkable precision, depicting a variety of images, animals, both real and mythical, human-like, figures, and most significantly, short sequences of what appears to be a written script. The sensation of tracing the cool, smooth surface of such an artifact, feeling the delicate ridges of its ancient carving, can connect you directly to the hands that made and used it millennia ago. These seals were likely used primarily for trade and administration. Imagine a Harappan merchant, like our Deva from the previous segment, pressing one of these seals into soft clay to create an impression on a package of goods, verifying ownership or origin. The sound of this action would be a soft, momentary thud of stone on clay, a quiet confirmation of a transaction. Their widespread discovery, even in distant Mesopotamia, speaks to the extensive trade networks of the Indus people, where goods flowed across vast distances, meticulously accounted for. However, among the thousands of seals, a particularly intriguing and somewhat unsettling imagery emerges. Some seals depict bound figures. Imagine seeing on a tiny stone tablet a human-like form with hands tied or legs constricted, perhaps even held by another more dominant figure. The precise meaning of these depictions remains one of the enduring mysteries of Harappan archaeology, but their presence invites quiet speculation. The primary question that arises from these specific seals is profound. Were they records of punishment? Do these images provide a rare, symbolic glimpse into the legal and punitive practices of the Indus Valley civilization? If so, they would corroborate the idea of an organized society with a clear system of law and order where infractions had visible, if symbolically depicted, consequences. The very stillness of these carved figures, their silent postures, can evoke a sense of quiet constraint and imposed authority. Beyond the grim possibility of punishment, other interpretations are also considered by scholars, adding to the enigma. Perhaps the bound figures represent sacrificial rituals, or mythological narratives, or even symbolic representations of control over wild animals or human passions. The fact that the Indus script remains undeciphered adds layers of profound mystery to every image. Without the ability to read the accompanying text, our understanding remains largely speculative, based solely on visual interpretation. This is a civilization that, for now, remains scriptless to our modern eyes. Its full story is locked away. These archaeological finds, these small, silent witnesses from the past, are invaluable for understanding a civilization that left behind no grand temples or royal tombs, no deciphered historical chronicles. They are our primary window into their complex beliefs, their meticulous administration, and perhaps their systems of justice. The quiet dedication of archaeologists, carefully sifting through dust and soil, meticulously documenting each find, is a testament to the persistent human drive to understand our shared past. The mystery of the Indus Valley seals, especially those depicting bound figures, is a compelling invitation to contemplate the quiet intricacies of a civilization that continues to guard many of its secrets. The gentle tapping sound of an ancient seal, pressing its silent image into the clay of time, echoes softly from this distant era, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation of an ancient, enigmatic world. From the enigmatic world of the Indus Valley seals and their subtle hints of law and consequence, let us now gently transition to a realm of order and quiet comfort, the daily life within a Harappan elite's house. This segment offers a striking contrast to the prisoner's experience in the punishment yard, providing a captivating glimpse into the organized luxury, refined living, and the significant role that a select few played in the meticulous city planning of this ancient civilization. Imagine stepping through a simple yet sturdy entrance into a multi-roomed baked brick home within the structured grid of Mohenjo-daro or Harappa. The air inside would feel noticeably cooler and calmer than the dusty streets, carrying the clean, earthy scent of damp brick and perhaps the subtle aroma of prepared foods. The sounds would be hushed and domestic, the gentle clinking of pottery, the soft murmur of family conversations, and perhaps the distant, muffled sounds of city life. Muted by thick walls, the interior spaces, though not lavish in the Mesopotamian or Egyptian sense of grand palaces, would speak of quiet prosperity and meticulous order. Walls might be plain, but floors would be swept clean. Personal possessions would be arranged with care. You might see small, artfully crafted terracotta figurines, perhaps depicting animals or stylized human forms, placed on ledges or in niches. These small works of art, with their smooth, cool surfaces, offer a silent testament to the aesthetic sensibilities of the household. Personal adornment played a subtle role. Imagine the smooth, cool feel of polished carnelian beads, prized. Red-orange stones, perhaps strung into necklaces or bracelets, catching the faint light. These items, along with other semi-precious stones, copper, and shell, would signify their elite status and their access to extensive trade networks. Meals in an elite Harappan home would be wholesome and carefully prepared. The aroma of simmering grains and vegetables would fill the kitchen area. Imagine plates laden with nourishing lentils, a staple of their diet, perhaps accompanied by fresh or dried fish from the Indus River, providing essential protein. Grains like wheat and barley, ground into flour for flatbreads, would also be central. The sounds of a meal would be quiet and communal, the gentle scraping of simple utensils on pottery, the soft chewing, and the low, contented murmurs of a family sharing sustenance. A defining feature of Harappan elite homes, and indeed the entire civilization, was the presence of sophisticated private baths and advanced drainage systems. Imagine the quiet, cool splash of water as you step into a small, private bathing area within the home, fed by a well or public water system, and drained away through carefully constructed channels beneath the city streets. The clean, earthy scent of damp clay and fresh water would be particularly pronounced here. This emphasis on hygiene and meticulous water management speaks volumes about their advanced understanding of urban living and public health. The elite's role in city planning was paramount. While we do not have clear evidence of kings or emperors, the remarkable uniformity and meticulous planning of Harappan cities like Mohenjo-daro suggest a powerful, centralized authority, likely comprising an elite class of priests, administrators, or wealthy merchants. Imagine the quiet intensity of their discussions in private courtyards as they oversaw the construction of new neighborhoods, the maintenance of the massive granaries, or the intricate systems of water supply and drainage. The sounds of their influence would be the distant, rhythmic chipping of bricklayers, the measured voices of overseers, and the quiet assurance that the complex machinery of the city continued to function with remarkable precision. This segment allows us to reflect on the orderly comfort, the advanced urban infrastructure, and the subtle luxury that defined the lives of the Harappan elite. It stands in striking, yet serene, contrast to the prisoner's experience in the punishment yard. One individual lived a life of quiet suffering and public shame. The other resided in a home of methodical comfort and wielded quiet, profound influence over the very design of their grand cities, highlighting the vast disparities and the intricate layers of this mysterious ancient society. From the ordered comfort of a Harappan elite's home, let us now gently broaden our perspective to encompass the remarkable ingenuity that underpinned the entire civilization, the sophisticated water management and urban engineering of the Harappans, and the profound environmental challenges that shaped their very existence. This segment invites you to contemplate the quiet, persistent struggle and brilliant solutions of an ancient people in harmony with and sometimes challenged by the mighty forces of nature. Imagine the bustling, yet orderly, streets of Mohenjo-daro or Harappa, not just as a collection of homes, but as a masterpiece of ancient urban planning. At the heart of this planning was an extraordinary relationship with water. The air, even in the dry season, would carry a subtle freshness in certain areas, hinting at unseen flows. The dominant sounds would be the soft, constant murmur of flowing water, the gentle creak of a well pulley, and the low, purposeful sounds of daily life intricately connected to water usage. The Harappans were truly silent architects of water. Their cities boasted an unparalleled system of wells, baths, and drains. Imagine standing beside a meticulously constructed well, its brick lining descending deep into the earth to reach the cool, clean groundwater. The sound of a rope being slowly lowered, followed by the soft splash of a bucket hitting the water, would be a daily symphony, providing life-sustaining fresh water to every neighborhood. Each house, even modest ones, often had its own private well. Connecting these homes and public spaces was an elaborate network of drains. Imagine a precise system of baked brick channels, running beneath the city streets, carrying wastewater away from dwellings. These drains were often covered, keeping the city clean and hygienic. The sounds of this system would be barely audible. A constant, very faint trickle or gurgle of water moving slowly beneath the ground, a testament to an unseen yet vital urban infrastructure. This level of sanitation was unprecedented in the ancient world, showcasing a quiet, collective understanding of public health. At the heart of Mohenjo-Daro stood the enigmatic Great Bath. Imagine its large, carefully constructed brick tank, likely used for ritual bathing or communal purification. The feeling of stepping down its broad, well-made steps into the cool, clear water would have been a profoundly sensory experience. The sounds would be hushed, the soft lapping of water against stone, the gentle echo of voices, and the quiet dignity of a sacred space. This grand structure, with its sophisticated system for filling and emptying water, speaks volumes about their engineering prowess and their spiritual or communal practices. However, the Harappans also lived in a constant, quiet negotiation with the immense power of the Indus River. This life-giving river, essential for agriculture and trade, also presented formidable environmental challenges. Imagine the annual rhythm of the river, swelling with monsoon rains and snowmelt from the distant mountains. The sounds of the river in full flood would be a low, powerful roar. A majestic yet terrifying force of nature, the cities were built on raised platforms, a testament to their understanding of floods. Yet, even with these precautions, the river's unpredictable power meant that cities sometimes had to be rebuilt after devastating inundations. The sounds of reconstruction, the rhythmic chipping of new bricks, the low murmuring of work crews, would have been familiar to many generations, a testament to their quiet resilience in the face of natural forces. The shifting courses of the river over centuries also posed existential threats, slowly changing the landscape and the very viability of their settlements. This segment allows us to reflect on the remarkable ingenuity of the Harappan people, their deep understanding of their environment, and their meticulous approach to urban living. It stands in grand, yet serene, contrast to the individual lives we've explored, reminding us of the larger forces, both human and natural, that shaped this mysterious civilization. The gentle gurgle of ancient water systems and the quiet, persistent rhythm of a mighty river drifts softly from this distant era, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation of an ancient world profoundly connected to its environment. From the remarkable ingenuity of Harappan engineering and their constant negotiation with their environment, let us now gently turn our contemplation to one of the greatest archaeological enigmas, the quiet vanishing of the vast and sophisticated Indus Valley civilization. Unlike many ancient empires that ended in dramatic, violent collapses, the decline of the Harappans seems to have been a slow, silent unraveling, leaving behind a profound mystery that continues to challenge scholars. This segment invites you to ponder the subtle forces that can lead even the grandest civilizations to fade into the dust of time. Imagine the bustling cities of Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, not ending with a sudden, violent cataclysm, but slowly, quietly losing their vitality. The sounds of their daily life, the clatter of artisans, the murmuring of markets, the quiet flow of water in their drains, would gradually diminish. Homes would become less occupied, workshops would fall silent, and the meticulous upkeep of their sophisticated urban infrastructure would slowly cease. This was not a roaring end, but a quiet, almost imperceptible fate. Archaeologists have proposed various theories surrounding this decline, each contributing a piece to this complex puzzle, yet none fully explaining the complete disappearance. The absence of widespread evidence for destructive warfare or sudden invasion suggests a more nuanced end, driven by environmental and societal shifts. One prominent theory centers on environmental changes. Imagine the majestic Indus River once, the lifeblood of the civilization, slowly, persistently altering its course. The sounds of its shifting currents, the whisper of sand being carried downstream, would signify profound change. Such a large-scale change in the river's path could have moved away from vital cities, rendering fertile agricultural lands dry and forcing populations to seek new areas for sustenance. The sustained rhythm of a river's natural course, imperceptible over a human lifetime, could, over centuries, silently undermine an entire civilization. Another hypothesis points to climate change. Imagine a subtle, prolonged period of drought where the life-giving monsoon rains become less frequent or reliable. The sounds of parched earth, the quiet desperation of dwindling water sources, would slowly replace the sounds of abundant harvests. Such a shift in climate would severely impact agriculture, leading to food shortages and the gradual abandonment of large urban centers as people dispersed into smaller, more sustainable settlements. The quiet struggle for survival would replace the ordered routines of city life. The possibility of disease is also considered, though harder to trace in the archaeological record. A quiet epidemic, silently sweeping through dense urban populations, could have significantly weakened the social fabric and reduced the workforce necessary to maintain complex cities. Imagine the subtle signs of illness, the hushed concern, and the slow, internal weakening of a community. While direct evidence for violent conquest is scarce, some theories suggest a gradual external influence or the slow influx of new populations, who may have eventually absorbed or displaced the Harappan peoples. The sound of new languages, new customs, quietly mingling with older ones, could signify a slow cultural transformation rather than an abrupt, violent overthrow. The enduring mystery of the Harappan decline lies precisely in this quiet vanishing. Unlike the dramatic collapse of other ancient civilizations, there is no clear conqueror, no single catastrophic event. Instead, the evidence points to a multifaceted process, a slow unwinding of a highly complex system. The meticulously planned cities were not destroyed. They were slowly, quietly abandoned. The intricate seals ceased to be carved, their script becoming a silent enigma. This segment allows us to reflect on the profound impermanence of even the most advanced human endeavors, and the subtle, yet powerful, ways that natural and social forces can reshape the course of history. The gentle rustle of shifting sands, the faint whisper of an ancient river changing course, and the profound silence of a civilization that simply ceased to be. These are the calming echoes of a truly mysterious past, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation as we acknowledge the enduring enigma of the Indus Valley. So now we have witnessed the profound contrast that defined this ancient society, its moments of meticulous order and its subtle forms of consequence, its advanced urban planning and its quiet resilience against natural forces, its vibrant trade networks and its ultimately silent disappearance. It is a world both organized and deeply enigmatic, a testament to the intricate and often unfathomable nature of human civilizations across millennia. As the echoes of these ancient, yet deeply human, tales gently recede into the quiet of the past, allow your mind to drift back to the comfort and stillness of your own space, your own time. The distant sounds of ancient cities have quieted. The mysteries of their script remain, gently awaiting discovery. The journey through this compelling age is complete. May your rest be deep and your dreams peaceful. Good night.